guys, and welcome to the new tutorial. This one is going to be for the Larks Foot Stitch. You can use as many colours as you like for this stitch, but it does look best when you use at least 3 different colours. So I've just got 3 different shades of Stylecraft Special DK, and that's what I'm going to use for this tutorial. So you want to start by making your slip knot. And if you're not sure how to do this, then just nip across and check out my absolute beginner series where there is a nice slow tutorial to show you how to do that. We're going to work our foundation chain in an even number, so it can be as long or as short as you like, as long as it's an even number. So again, if you're not sure how to chain, then that is also in the slipknot tutorial, but just remember to keep your foundation chain nice and loose, otherwise it will make your work fan out if it's done too tight. So any length as long as it's an even number, and that's where I'll meet you in a second. So I've just done 22, and whatever length that you decide to do, once you've completed that desired length, you need to add an additional 3 chains onto the end, and 3. So now we're ready to work back along our foundation chain, and we're going to be working in treble crochet. Now remember, that's UK treble. In the US we will be doing your double crochet. So we're going to count backwards to our 4th chain, so 1, 2, 3, and this is our 4th chain just here, and we're going to treble. So yarn over, insert into that 4th chain, yarn over and pull up, and you'll have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So the chains that we've skipped are going to count as our first treble, and then obviously we've just done 1 more treble there, and then we're going to treble again into the next chain along. So yarn over and insert, yarn over and pull up, and complete your treble. And we now have a little group of 3 trebles. We're then going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip over this next chain, and then we're going to do 1 treble into the next 3. So chain 1, skip 1, and then 1 treble into the next 3 stitches. So that's 1, and again 1 treble into the next chain, 2, and 1 into the next, and that is 3. So we've got 2 groups of 3 trebles now, and again you're going to chain 1 and skip 1, and then again you're going to do 1 treble into the next 3 stitches, and you're just going to continue that all the way along. 1 treble into 3, chain 1, skip 1, 1 treble into 3, and then I will meet you when you get back towards where we started from. So I've gone all the way back along my foundation chain now, and this is how I am looking. So you should finish with a group of 3 trebles, and your last treble should be right into that very last stitch. Now we're not going to change colours yet, we're going to stay with your first colour. You're going to do 2 rows in each colour that you have. So to start row 2, I'm going to turn, and then I'm going to do my little fat treble crochet, as it were. So instead of chaining 3 and ending up with a gap, I prefer to do it this way. So I've turned without chaining at all, and straight into this chain here where we've just turned, I'm going to insert my hook into there, yarn over and pull up. So I've got 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, and then you've got 2 strands in front of you here, and you're going to insert your hook into this one, yarn over and pull up. You'll have 2 loops again, and yarn over, pull through both. And that just gives the height of a treble, but without having the gap that you would get by just doing a chain 3. So that has counted as our treble for the treble from the previous row. And then we're literally just going to do 1 treble into the top of each treble. So that counts as our very first one. And then you're going to treble into the top of the next treble. So when you go into the top of the stitch, make sure you get the V at the top of that last treble and complete your treble. And then again you're going to treble into the top of that 3rd treble, and then we're at our chain 1 space. So again, you're going to chain 1 and skip the chain 1 space, and then you're going to continue working 1 treble into the top of every treble. And you're just going to work that all the way along, so I will meet you when you get back to this very last group of trebles. So I've worked that all the way along, and then I'm just at my last section here. So I've done my first 2 trebles, and then I need to make sure that I do a treble into the top of our turning chain from the previous row. But you're not going to complete this treble because we're going to do a colour change. So you're going to yarn over and insert into the top of that chain 3, yarn over and pull up, so you've got your 3 loops, yarn over and pull through the first 2, and then you're going to stop and you're going to grab your next colour, and you're going to grab that new colour and pull it through those last 2 chains. You're then going to do a chain 1 just to secure that colour change, and then I'm going to stop for a second, snip off my grey, and then I'm just going to tie my 2 tails together. You don't have to do that, it's just a personal preference to make sure that they're nice and secure. So remember that chain 1 didn't count as a chain or anything, it was literally just to secure our colour change. So this now is row 3. So for row 3 you want to start by chaining 4, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then turn, and that chain 4 counts as 1 treble and a chain 1. So you've got your 3 chains for your treble and then a chain 1. You're then going to jump over the top of this middle treble here. You're going to skip over the top of that one, and remember that we've got our chain 1 which will take us over the top of that, and you're going to go straight into a treble into the top of your 3rd treble just here. So yarn over, insert into the top of that 3rd treble and do your treble. You're then going to do your first extended treble crochet. So you will be working not into the chain 1 space here, but into the chain 1 space that we created on our foundation row. So you want to yarn over, insert into that chain 1 from the first row, yarn over and pull up, keep it quite loose, and then you want to pull so that your work comes up without snagging, and then complete your treble as normal. And that is your first extended treble. You're then going to do a treble into the top of the first treble in your next set. So yarn over, insert into that treble and do your next treble. Chain 1, and we're going to jump over the middle treble, and we're going to treble into the 3rd. You're then going to jump down again to do your extended treble into that very first row. So yarn over, insert into that first row, yarn over and pull up. Remember to keep it relatively loose so that you don't snag. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then again treble into the first treble from the next set. Chain 1, and you're going to jump over the middle treble once more. You're going to jump over this one, treble into the next one, and then again we're at our chain 1 spaces, so we're going to jump down with our extended treble and then treble into that first treble of the next set. Chain 1 and jump over, and you're going to do that all the way along until you get towards the end, which is where I'll meet you in just a second. Treble here, and then you can see I've got 2 trebles left. I've got this one and then the very first one from the previous row. So I'm going to do my chain 1 as normal, skip over the middle treble as normal, and then do your final treble into the top of your very first treble from that previous row. And this is how we should be looking so far. We're then going to start row 4. So again, you want to chain 4 because that will count as a treble and a chain 1. So we're going to skip over this chain 1 space here. We're going to skip over the top of this, and then we are going to do 1 treble into the top of each treble. So yarn over, insert into the top of this treble, do your treble, and again into the next one and the next one. We're then going to chain 1 and skip over the chain 1 space and treble into the top of each treble again. 1, 2 and 3. Chain 1 and work your way along doing 1 treble into the top of every treble from that previous row, separated by your chain 1. And I will meet you just as you finish your last treble into the top of this one. I will meet you there in just a second, and we will change colours again. So I've done my trebles into these trebles, and then I just need to work my final treble now. But remember, this chain here was a chain 4, so you don't want to just automatically go into the chain that's closest to the treble, because we need to have our chain 1 space. So you need to find the 3rd chain, so 1, 2, and this is my 3rd chain just here. And remember, we're going to change colour, so we're not going to complete the treble. We're going to yarn over, insert into the 3rd chain, not the 4th one, yarn over and pull up, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop. And then you're going to get your next colour, and again you're just going to grab that yarn and pull through those last 2 chains. Do a very quick chain 1 to secure, snip off your old colour, and just do a quick knot if you like to, just to secure that colour change. So that first chain again didn't count as a stitch, it was literally just to secure our colour change. So we're now moving on to row 5. So we're back to only doing our chain 3s, because we're going to be working into the stitches straight away. So I'm going to turn and do my little fat treble, as it were, and I'm going to insert into that first stitch as before and pull up, yarn over, pull through both, and then again into that side of that stitch, and then that gives me a fatter treble. So that counts as our first treble, and then we're going to go straight down into our chain 1 spaces from the previous rows, and we're going to do our extended treble straight away. So you're going to yarn over, and then this very first row from your last colour change, you will go right down into that space, yarn over and pull up, and you'll do your extended treble, and then treble into the very first treble, chain 1, skip over the middle treble and work into the 3rd, and then again you're going to do your extended treble right down into the first row from the last colour, and then treble into the next treble, chain 1, skip over that middle treble and do your treble into the next. And then again extended treble and normal treble into the next, and you're going to work that again all the way along until you get towards the other end. So I'm getting towards the end now. I've done 1 set of stitches here and my last treble into the first treble of this set. I'm going to do my chain 1. I'm going to skip over this middle treble and do a treble into the next one. Oops. And then again we're going to jump down into this chain 1 space. This last one can be a little bit fiddly. Then again you're going to do your last treble into the 3rd chain from that turning chain from the previous row. So that is how you should be looking so far. And now we're going to move on to row 6. So again, we're going to turn and do your treble into the top of that stitch by doing those 2 doubles on top of each other like before, and that counts as your treble for the first. And then you're going to do 1 treble into the top of each treble. 3. And remember, always separate them by a chain 1 and then treble into the top of each treble. So again, you're just going to work that all the way to the end, which is where I will meet you in just a second. So I've got 1 more treble to do into the top of that chain from the previous row. Oops. But I won't complete it because here I would change colour again. So now you would just repeat rows 3, 4, 5 and 6 over and over again until you got to the length that you required. But that is it for the pattern. I will work up a little bit more now just to show you how it looks the further on you get. But that is literally it. You can pause or rewind and go back to the beginning of row 3, but you just repeat rows 3, 4, 5 and 6 over and over again. I've worked up a few more rows now, and I've just done 1 more row of each colour just so that you can see how it looks as it starts to work up. You will get a lot of tails that you need to work in, and you will notice that the edges aren't perfectly straight. They're as good as they're going to get, but due to the pattern itself and the stitch, they won't be perfectly straight. So you may want to just pop a double crochet border all around, obviously once you get to the end of your project, just to give off a really nice perfect finish. But that is it for this one. I really hope that you have enjoyed it, and please remember to tag me on Instagram if you do make things from my tutorials. My Instagram feed is listed in the description box. And that's it, and I will see you again for another one very soon. Thanks guys, bye.